Santa Claus gives us presents. On Christmas, he gives toys to children all around the world. He's gonna know what I want because I'm writing a letter.
Dear Santa.
Dear Santa.
Dear Santa.
Santa gets quite a few letters. We will send those to the North Pole today.
Santa needs elves because this is a really big world, and he can't possibly do it all himself.
The more children there are, the harder it was to answer all the letters.
I wanted an experience of helping others.
We have elves where the letters are.
We're going to decide which letters to adopt.
Oh my God, I want to pick them up.
Think of it as Santa's special forces, that we make sure that these kids are going to get their Christmas presents.
I invite you to read the letters and see what touches your heart.
Dear Santa, I want 10 buddies for Christmas. I love rabbits. They just filled my heart up with joy.
The Christmas season is a little rough. I'm struggling, trying to make a way.
We had to move because the fire burned our house.
His 11-year-old kid asked for nothing for himself, talked about how loving and awesome his single mother was, and she did the best that she could.
The kid is only asking for love. How can you not grab this letter?
When people write these letters, they're sending it out into the world, message in a bottle type deal.
I just feel like it's my duty to bring joy.
It would mean so much to me for my kids to have a wonderful Christmas.
I'm getting ready to cry now just thinking about it. It will be a blessing.
Today we are wrapping presents for 62 letters and 171 people and one cat, Dookie.
We're planning for success, but I'm still 25 letters off. It's down to the wire.
Whee! Go team!
We are here together. We are one. Let's have this moment of unity.
Delivery from Santa.
You'll never know how you benefited someone's life.
It's nice to feel remembered and to know that people still care.
Thanks for joining us here today. I'm Rick Parkhill, Director of Brand Storytelling, and I'm excited to be joined here today by Chris Karpenko. He's the Executive Director of Brand Marketing for the United States Postal Service, AKA the USPS. Chris is one of just 6 Brand Storytelling honorees for 2021, being recognized by a group of brand peers for his leadership role behind the 2020 Christmas documentary, Dear Santa. Serving dual roles as film producer and executive director for brand marketing, Chris orchestrated the creative development, financing, and overall creative direction of the award-winning film, Dear Santa. If you missed watching this film this holiday season, don't worry, it's there. Go watch it. However you stream, you can find it everywhere. What's the best place to see the film right now, Chris?
I think Hulu. We've got an arrangement with Hulu now, so. Go
to Hulu, watch Dear Santa if you haven't seen it. It's a heartwarming documentary that we can all use a little uplifting with. So Chris, thanks for being with me today. We had the great pleasure of meeting each other in Sundance 2020 before everything shut down right afterwards. So it was our last chance to get together. You were there with Dana Nachman, the director of the film, Brendan Gall from Studios, other members of the team, and you showed the trailer then in 2020. I think it was the first time anybody had really seen the Dear Santa trailer, January, and you received such a warm reception from a whole room full of brands. That must have made you feel like you're on the right track.
Yeah, Rick, it's really fun to talk to you. Time has flown. A year ago, we were in a whole different world. And I will say that it was a great experience over at Brand Storytelling. And what I really appreciated about the group there is all the support and the helpfulness and just this idea behind getting the energy and really putting things to be a supportive group amongst what everybody's trying to do. Super friendly, super helpful, and insightful, and offering great feedback. So when we were able to debut that out at Brand Storytelling with you and your team and the attendees, we really felt that it was a special occasion, and we were met with a lot of warmth.
Yeah. So the film at that stage in January 2020, I think the trailer had just been completed. And so you were still in post-production of the film at that time. It was still in development at some stage.
Yeah, we had a lot of it in the can, and we were doing some heavy editing at the time, and just figuring out, there was just so much material out there to figure out how to tell its story. And in some cases, I think we all looked at it and tried to figure out, okay, what are the ones that can stay and what are the ones we have to sacrifice? So it was a hard decision to make because there was just so much wonderful storytelling being done with Dana and all the content that she created.
So if you back this up, is like, what was the genesis for this film? Did you go into it with a premise that served as sort of a North Star for you? What's the premise of the film to begin with? What did you want to accomplish?
That's a great question. So, we had been working with our agency partners for a period of time, trying to figure out what types of content would we create, what types of stories might there be. The organization as a brand has, at the time was probably 240 some odd years of history. And we were trying to figure out what's the right story, what's the right venue, what makes something work. And we did a lot of ideation. So that ideation came with our partners over at UM and McCann MRM, and just trying to figure out what that was. So we had been doing this for a while, and we just really hadn't found the right story or the right timing of that story. And what we ended up looking at is saying, hey, we've got this jewel, if you will, this 108-year-old, if you call social cause, if you will, that's organic. Nothing really official from that. And what could we do to tell a story from what people do across the country that really ties to the Postal Service, but also ties to its customers, both those that adopt and give and those that receive. And we started to look at that, and really, I guess the timing was right. And we found, that Dana Nachman had made a phone call into us, and we said, what, this might be the right approach with the right person. And we put Dana in with the UM studio team, started having some ideation over it, and said, what, I think we can make this happen. And we started to go, moving towards that effort.
Well, so the stages of it is, first of all, you land on these stories around Dear Santa and how rich they are. Like you said, like what a gift that is, just sitting there. And then there comes, sort of the packaging of that, how you package those stories. So that's a team effort between Dana and the UM group and all of you?
Oh, absolutely. So I would definitely say that a key point, if I would say on this, would say that you've got to have trusted partners. Yeah. And there was a lot of trust going back and forth with all of us. We'd worked together before. We had great reputations with each other. It was figuring out how do you meld those trusted partners together? How do you then craft that story? What could that story be? And then when we looked at it, we were trying to figure out then what would be this mindset of a broader than traditional way of creating content, right? How do we connect with customers? And historically, we might use media like your traditional commercials. You might do some form on social and digital and all the other different channels. In this particular case, it was very unique for us because this is long form content, and probably somewhere around 82 minutes worth of it. And we really wanted to have this cohesive team because we were going to rely on all of us to make this really work. In that it was a very unique environment for us.
Let's, if you don't mind, let's talk a little bit about the financing of the film, and because feature films aren't cheap to produce. You've sold the film to IFC, I believe.
IFC, yep, IFC.
But did you? So going into this, is it redirecting budgets? Is it taking money from media into production, and then with some expectation that we're going to get a return on our investment in the sales process?
Yeah. It's a really great point. So, we're not geared to be out there. Our goal is not to make films and make money. We're not, those types of groups that do that. But what we are out to do is tell a story about the brand. And our intent was to try to look at this in a way to see how could we do this in a cost-effective way? How could we get some co-funding, if you will? So folks that are interested in that story also playing a role and putting some investment into that, and then sharing in that investment as well. So the idea behind in putting an investment in, getting a partner to be able to do that, and then sharing in that upside was all a tender yet trusted relationship. I guess I'd go back to say, what are we looking for, and and then get into the discussion of like who's first to get reimbursed from the investment, and what does that mean? And for us as a brand, it wasn't about the financial investment coming back as much as what was our return on our exposure, because our exposure is really what we do. We don't historically buy media with the intent of somebody reimbursing us for that media. It's that intent of the investment for the exposure. And in looking at all of that, our intents were to put an investment in, get an investment back on it, but also our investment from at least the brand side was not only financial, but it weighted more heavily on what would our exposure be, as if we were using it as a media opportunity.
Right. And you went, and obviously you went into production on this film pre-COVID. There was an expectation that we're going to create a film that's going to have a theatrical release and that's going to appear in film festivals like that people go to, versus virtual festivals. I know you did win the best documentary premiere category at the Heartland International Film Festival. That's pretty great.
We did. And nothing was more exciting than watching that in a drive-in on a big screen with all of these folks that were being socially distant, but watching in a drive-in. So kudos to the Heartland Film Festival for coming up with very innovative ways to have that festival. But just watching those attendees look at that and then come out of it, and we I think we caught some B-roll off of it, and just the excitement and the emotion that people had over experiencing that selfless style of giving, and then wanting to figure out how to participate as well. Yeah. And whether they participated in the Operation Santa program or some other option, it was really a wonderful opportunity to kind of share with that. And good and bad and ugly and all of that. We didn't think COVID would was going to happen. It did. And in a lot of cases, it was such a crazy year for so many people. I think the emotional content delivered actually amplified its experience, because people were experiencing such tremendous, unique things during last year.
That's such a good point. I watched the film with my family. We sat and watched it on the big screen in our home, and it's just an uplifting moment, amidst a Christmas that was very disconnected. The timeliness of it almost, it's hard. It's not a good thing to say that it worked into its favor, but we sure enjoyed it at a good time, is my point. I think a lot of people did. It made them feel better.
It was as if we planned it, Rick. As if we had this master plan to just make it that much more sweet. Yeah. And just tender for folks. So we also saw some evergreen to this as well. Whether it's this past year that we did it, we still have it available, and the folks at IFC were just really wonderful partners to work with, and they took that film and then they placed it out there. It got some really good exposure. I think we were over 4 billion impressions with a B.
Jeez, that's crazy. And I think you have like a 92% rating on Rotten Tomatoes.
Yeah.
Which like Hollywood films would die for that. I mean, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Right. and having the right partners and having trusted partners with that really made for a truly authentic effort. So, and the Rotten Tomatoes, what a compliment to everyone who was involved to make that 92%.
No doubt.
So.
Now, the film features a diverse array of perspectives and people from different walks of life. How conscious were you of that going in, of like who we want represented in this film?
When we looked at the film in general, we also took a step back as to who and what the Postal Service really does and the brand behind that. And when you look at what it was originally designed for, where the Postal Service was created to provide universal service. It was provided an environment to help people, regardless of their status in the country, regardless of where they lived, to give them this ability to have affordable communication back and forth. And when you look at the mix of this country, we are truly a mix of so many different people, young and old, different cultural perspectives, different ethnicities. We wanted to look and cover that wide representation of America. And I think for us, it was really, in a lot of ways, really easy to do because we do go everywhere every day.
Yeah.
And that everywhere every day could be in the city, into suburbia, into rural America. And I think that was so, it was a beautiful part of that film, and that we didn't have a difficult time finding really great stories in every aspect.
Yeah, it's very inclusive. As you think about it, it's like just about everybody has a mailbox.
Right.
Just about everybody in the country has a mailbox. They might have to drive down a dirt road and get to their mailbox, but mail comes to them.
Yep.
And that's something that we're all included in. So I got to ask you, it's like, Dear Santa can become a holiday tradition. We got to watch it every Christmas. It's this great seasonal, uplifting film. But when's the sequel? Because there's new Santa stories every year, right? I mean, seems like a franchise to me.
Yeah. You raise another perspective on it. So our intent was to put out this long form content and see where it went with it. I think to your point, we've got plenty of opportunities with people looking at that and saying, wow, how do I participate? How do I go about doing that? And then how do we then take those new opportunities and search them out and do, whether it's another long form content or maybe smaller, shorter form efforts that could be put into different avenues. We've been looking at a lot of different options with that. And, for us, it's seeing what's the best way to expose not only the program of Operation Santa, but how do you do it with the Postal Service and the brand and do it in the right way? And how do people want to look at that content and digest that content? So we've been looking at different options on that, and stay tuned. You might see some maybe even some smaller series of that to build that we do every year, just to kind of bring it back and keep it fresh and just keep reminding people that there are really good people in the world, and there are people that are in need, and that people are willing to give free without even potentially knowing who the recipient is. The nice part, the documentary and alone, we actually started to show real people, the senders and the receivers, right? But the reality of the program, when we don't do things like the documentary, is you pick and adopt a letter, you don't know that person, and the person who's adopting doesn't know. So both parties don't know each other, but it's this amazing connection and desire to help each other out and just bring joy in the world. So really, really a wonderful reflection of the people of this country, really.
If these films can inspire more people to participate in that sort of activity and that spirit of giving anonymously and giving from your heart, what a great job you guys have done. Chris, again, congratulations on Dear Santa and everything else that you're doing at the USPS. What a job to be in charge of brand at the United States Postal Service. And, hats off to you, and thanks for the great work that you do. And I hope to see you back at Sundance in January 2022 when we can all meet in person again.
You got a guarantee, no matter what we're doing, we'll figure out a way to get there. I just want to thank you for taking the time. Your organization and the infrastructure and the family. I call it a family because it truly is an accessible group of people that are out to support what each other does every day. The idea behind brand storytelling is a perfect fit. This was our first time last year going. We had an amazing story to talk about, but also to share and ideate amongst the colleagues that were there. So we really appreciate it and appreciate the recognition and appreciate being able to tell our story there too.
It's terrific. Well, thanks again for your time today, Chris, and congratulations again on everything, including your Brand Storytelling Honoree Award, which is in the mail. Watch your mailbox. It will arrive soon.
Rick, I am humbled. I'm humbled to be surrounded by the other honorees and those that have been honored in the past. So, it really was what I would say, I'm very grateful, but also very humbled by that. So, thank you for that.
When your trophy arrives, just send me a selfie with it.
Done.
Okay.
Done. I proudly will show it here. So, thank you.
All right, Chris. Thanks again. We'll sign off. Thanks for your time, buddy.
Thank you. Have a great day. Thanks.
All right.